My family calls me heartless for not helping my sister escape her abusive ex, but I don't want to help someone who likes to steal and side with the abuser. My sister, who is 23, has been in an on-again, off-again relationship with her boyfriend Tristan for the past 6 years. I won't say he's a bad boyfriend, I'll let his actions speak for themselves. He's hit her multiple times, controls her money, and has personally threatened me when I tried to step in before. Saying he's a bad person would be redundant. My sister and I grew up with our grandparents after our parents died when I was 12 and she was 10, which made me the older brother. Our grandparents are now in their 80s, living in Florida and enjoying their last years, which they deserve. They send money when they can, but they live on fixed incomes and can't handle my sister's constant crises anymore, nor should they have to. 3 years ago, when my sister was 20, she showed up at my apartment covered in bruises. Tristan had beaten her so badly she needed stitches above her left eye. I took her to the hospital, helped her file a police report, and let her stay with me for 2 months while she recovered. During those 2 months I paid for everything: food, clothes, her phone bill, even a security deposit for a new apartment across town. Altogether it cost me more than $3,000, which I really didn't have. At the time I was working 2 jobs. I gave up my own bedroom, slept on the couch, and basically put my life on hold to help her rebuild hers. I thought I was helping her escape an abuser. At first, she seemed grateful. She got a job, started saving money, even dated a few decent guys. I thought she was finally free of Tristan's influence. Then she met my friend. My friend, 24 at the time, has been my best friend since high school. He's one of those genuinely good people who cares about everyone, which can be his biggest weakness. He had moved in with me about 4 years earlier when we both needed to split rent, and we'd been great roommates ever since. My friend fell hard for my sister. I saw it coming and warned him to be careful, but he brushed off my concerns. He said my sister had been through enough and deserved someone who would treat her well. They started dating about 6 months after she moved out of our place. For the first year, everything looked perfect. My friend brought her flowers, took her on weekend trips, and talked about their future together. He even started looking at engagement rings, which I thought was a terrible idea. Not because I didn't want them happy, but because I knew her history. And, as it turned out, what happened next proved me right. My sister seemed happy too. She had steady work hours, had stopped drinking excessively, and seemed to finally be in a healthy relationship for the first time in years. But I knew my sister better than my friend did. Last summer she started acting strange. She would cancel plans with my friend at the last minute, claim to be working extra shifts when that wasn't possible, and I caught her lying about small things. My friend noticed too, but he kept making excuses for her behavior. The truth came out in the worst way possible. One August day, my friend came home early from work to surprise my sister with tickets to a band she liked. He walked into our apartment and found her with Tristan. They weren't just talking, Tristan had a suitcase, and my sister already had a bag packed. My friend stood there in the doorway holding those tickets while my sister told him she was moving back in with Tristan. She said she had never really loved him and had only dated him to make Tristan jealous. She told my friend that Tristan was the love of her life and she couldn't stop thinking about him. The worst part was what she said about my friend's appearance. He's always been self-conscious about a birthmark on his neck. My sister used that insecurity against him, because she had told Tristan about it, and Tristan then used it to insult him. My friend didn't say a word. He just turned around and left. Tristan laughed and called him pathetic. Eventually my sister left her apartment and went back to Tristan's. My friend took a week off work and barely came out of his room. When he finally did, he had lost a lot of weight. He started wearing hoodies to cover his neck and even booked a consultation to look into procedures to fix it. I told my sister exactly what I thought about her behavior. I told her if she wanted to go back to Tristan, that was her choice, but I was done helping her when things went wrong again. I told her she had destroyed the best relationship she'd ever had with the best person she'd ever meet. My sister accused me of caring more about my friend than about my own sister. She said my friend would get over it and find someone else, but Tristan was the love of her life. I told her that when Tristan hit her again, not if, but when, she shouldn't bother calling me. That conversation was 8 months ago, and it's the last time we spoke. 2 weeks ago, my sister showed up at my job. She had a black eye, a split lip, and finger-shaped bruises on her arms. She was crying and begged me to let her stay with us again. She said Tristan had been drinking more lately and the violence was getting worse. I told her no. She followed me to the parking lot, grabbing my arm and saying I had to do this for her. I told her no. Several of my co-workers were watching, and my supervisor even came out to see what was happening. I pulled her hand off my arm and told her to call the police or go to a women's shelter, but she wasn't staying with me and my friend. I told her she had made her choice when she humiliated my friend, and now she had to live with the consequences. My sister started screaming that I was abandoning her like everyone else. She said our parents would be ashamed of me if they were alive. I got in my car and drove back to my apartment. Since then, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. My grandparents have called me crying, saying they're too old and too sick to help her but begging me to reconsider. My aunt in California offered to buy her a plane ticket if I let her stay with me a few days until she could fly there. Even some of my co-workers have been giving me strange looks, like they think I'm a monster for refusing my own sister. But this is what they don't understand. My friend still lives here. It would be weird as hell, for starters. He's finally starting to look like himself again after months of barely speaking. He's been seeing someone new these past few weeks, and I've seen him smile more this month than in all the months since my sister left him. I refuse to bring my sister back into this apartment where my friend would have to see her every day and be reminded of how she treated him. I refuse to put him through that again, just because my sister made another bad decision. Besides, I've already helped her before, because I thought that was supposed to be her turning point. I refuse to go through the same thing all over again, just for her to go back to him 6 months later. I'm not a vacation resort for battered women who just need a break from their stressful life of being abused, only to return to the abuser afterward. If there's nothing I can do to actually help her, because she keeps choosing her abuser, then there's nothing I should do. But my grandparents keep saying family comes first. The not-so-small detail is that my sister wasn't thinking about family when she was destroying my friend. She wasn't thinking about family when she chose Tristan over having a stable and loving relationship. I know she's in danger. I know Tristan will probably hurt her again. But I also know that if I rescue her now, she'll go back to him in 6 months, maybe sooner. So all of it will be in vain, and I'll just have wasted my time, peace, and money on something that will repeat itself. My friend doesn't know that my sister has reached out to me. He doesn't know about my family's calls. I haven't told him because I don't want him to feel responsible for my decision. So tell me, Reddit, am I really the heartless brother my family thinks I am, or am I right about my sister? Update 1. I thought people would attack me for abandoning a woman in danger, but I guess the world doesn't think so differently from the way I do. My sister cannot be helped if she doesn't actually want to accept help. That's a phrase I read in the comments, and it fits her perfectly. The day after I posted, my grandmother called me sobbing. She said my sister had been sleeping in her car for almost a week and begged me to let her stay with them in Florida. My grandmother wanted to help, but my grandfather has early-stage dementia and gets confused when his routine changes. They live in a senior community where overnight guests need approval, and the process takes weeks. My grandmother asked me to pay for a motel for my sister until they could sort something out. She offered to reimburse me, but I know they're already struggling financially. I told her I couldn't help with money, and she hung up on me. That same night, my friend's new girlfriend, Erica, came over for dinner. Erica, though it feels harsh to say it, is more pleasant than my sister. She studies and volunteers at the same animal shelter where my friend helps out. That's where they met about a month ago, and he's been happier than I've seen him since before my sister. While we were eating, there was a knock at the door. My friend went to open it, and I heard him say my sister's name. That was the end of our peaceful dinner. My sister pushed her way into our apartment before he could stop her. She looked terrible, greasy hair, wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in before, and she smelled like she hadn't showered in days. She started talking fast, explaining she'd been sleeping in her car and had nowhere to go. She said Tristan had changed the locks on her apartment and threatened to call the police if she came back. Erica looked confused and asked who she was. My friend explained she was my sister but didn't mention their history. My sister noticed Erica sitting at our table and asked if she was his new girlfriend. When he said yes, my sister laughed and said Erica was exactly the kind of plain and boring girl she expected him to end up with. My friend's face turned red, but he didn't respond to the comment. My sister then asked me if she could stay the night on our couch, looking at Erica to see if she'd speak up for her. I said no almost immediately. My sister turned to my friend and asked him directly. She said she knew he was a good person who wouldn't let someone sleep in their car, especially not his ex-girlfriend, who was in real danger. So much for not mentioning she was his ex. My friend stood there for a long time, looking at me and then at my sister. Finally, he said she could stay one night, but she'd have to leave in the morning. I couldn't believe he'd do this after everything my sister put him through. I told my friend we needed to talk privately in his room. It wasn't a good idea to leave my sister and Erica alone together, and I didn't know what could come of that, but I also wasn't going to let my sister stay. Once we were alone, I reminded him of what my sister had said to him when she left. I asked why he was willing to help someone who humiliated him so publicly. My friend said he wasn't doing it for my sister. He was doing it because he couldn't live with himself if something happened to her. He said one night wouldn't kill us, and maybe it would give her time to think about her next step. I told my friend that this is exactly how my sister operates. She'd stay one night, then find excuses to stay longer until she was living with us again. I reminded him that she had just insulted his new girlfriend right to her face. My friend said he understood my concerns. But he said his decision was final. When we went back to the dining room, Erica was gone. My friend texted her, but she didn't reply. He went after Erica to try to talk to her. By that time, my sister was trying to claim our couch as her own. She told me she needed a few more days to contact some friends who might be able to help her. She hadn't even spent one night here, and she was already lying. I told her she needed to leave before my friend came back home, or I would call the police myself. My sister started crying and said she was my damn sister, not some random like my friend's girlfriend. She asked why I cared more about my friend's feelings than about her safety. I told her the truth. It wasn't that I cared more about his feelings, but that I didn't want to have her living here for months again. You can't blame me. My friend was ruining his relationship with a woman who was worth more than my sister, and my sister argued back, but as soon as I managed to get her through the doorway, I slowly closed the door behind her. When my friend came back later, he found my sister's car still parked outside. She had been sitting in it, waiting for him. My friend went out to talk to her, and they spoke for about 20 minutes. When he came back, he told me my sister had asked to stay just one night because she had a job interview the next day. I told my friend she was lying, that there was no interview. I said she was playing on his compassion because she knew he was too kind to turn her away, and that she was manipulating him. My friend said maybe I was right, but he couldn't take the risk. I told him if he was that worried, he should pay for her motel room himself, but she wasn't sleeping here. And that's exactly what he did, which I still can't believe. The next night, my friend told me Erica had broken up with him. She said she didn't want to get involved in drama and that she felt uncomfortable with what he was doing for his ex-girlfriend. And of course, there was also that first lie. My friend didn't blame Erica for her decision, but he was clearly disappointed. This was exactly what I had feared would happen. That night, my sister told my friend that she had gotten the job and would start working the following week, but that she needed money for the motel until she got her first paycheck, so she could pay a deposit on a new place. My friend looked at me as if asking permission. I told him my sister was his problem now, not mine. It's been 5 days since then, and my sister is still living off my friend's money. She hasn't started any job, so we all know how real that paycheck is. When I asked my friend how her job was going, he said they had pushed back her start date. The worst part is, she's been asking my friend questions about Erica. She wanted to know how they met, how long they'd been dating, and if he was really in love with her. The audacity of my sister is incredible, and the worst part is my friend can't even see it. Yesterday she told him that Erica probably broke up with him because she was looking for an excuse anyway, not because of her presence, of course, since storming into a dinner yelling and saying everything she did surely helped. My friend hasn't been the same since Erica ended things. He's been quiet at dinner and spends most of his time in his room. When I asked if he was okay, he said yes, but admitted he missed Erica more than he expected. I think my sister is enjoying watching my friend struggle with the breakup. I think she likes knowing she has regained control over his life. My family is happy my sister has a safe place to stay, but they don't understand what this is costing my friend. Honestly, I don't care logically, as long as he keeps paying his share of the rent. But I think this is the worst idea he's ever had. Dragging my downstairs buddy into a nest of fire ants would have been better than this. He doesn't see how my sister is manipulating him, but I'm tired of trying to help people who just do whatever they want. I'm starting to think I need to move out. I can't stand to watch my friend get dragged back into my sister's chaos. And I can't live with someone who lets her treat him like this. The worst part is, I know this is just the beginning. My sister won't voluntarily leave her golden goose. My friend is too good, or maybe too much of an idiot, and he'll end up broke for helping a damsel in distress. Update 2. After my last update, my sister kept staying in a motel paid for by my friend for another 3 weeks. She never started the job she said she had gotten, and every few days she came up with a new excuse for not lifting a finger. My friend tried to contact Erica several times, but she wouldn't answer his calls or messages. One afternoon he ran into her at the grocery store and tried to explain the situation with my sister. But Erica told him she wasn't interested in coming back. She said he was just a walking red flag and she didn't want to deal with that right now. My friend came home that night and went straight to his room without saying a word. 2 weeks ago, I came home from work and found my sister and my friend watching a movie together on our couch. I asked my friend if I could talk to him in private. When we went into his room, I asked what was going on between him and my sister, and what the hell she was doing there. My friend said they were just being cordial since they were both going through things, and he thought it would be nice to have a movie night. He said my sister had apologized for how their relationship ended, and while he wasn't ready to forgive her completely, he didn't see the point in being hostile. I told my friend my sister was manipulating him again. I reminded him that because of her, he had lost his girlfriend, and that his ex had every damn right to leave. He said my sister seemed sincerely sorry for her past behavior and was making an effort to be better. That's when I realized my friend was already falling back under my sister's influence. Last Monday, I got a message from Tristan. He said he had something important to tell me about my sister and asked if we could meet. I almost didn't go, because even though I don't like my friend much right now, I like Tristan even less. Tristan told me my sister hadn't been sleeping in her car like she claimed that first week after the breakup. She had actually been staying with some guy named Larry she met online. Larry kicked her out when he discovered she had been going through his wallet and stealing money. Tristan said my sister had been stealing from him for months, not just cash, but also items she could sell online. He discovered she was listing his electronics and tools on resale apps, sometimes selling things while he was at work. The worst part was what he told me about her recent behavior. He said she had been contacting him regularly since she started staying with my friend and me, sending him photos of our apartment and updates about my friend's daily routine. Tristan said my sister told him my friend was still in love with her and was considering giving her another chance, all to make Tristan jealous enough to take her back. Tristan showed me the messages. One of them said my friend had bought her expensive shampoo and was visiting her at the motel every few days to, well, you know. Another said she was enjoying watching my friend struggle with his breakup because it proved to her that he had never really gotten over her. I felt sick reading those messages. Tristan said he was telling me this because he was tired of my sister's games. When I got home that evening, my sister was cooking in our kitchen. She had bought ingredients with my friend's money and was making him dinner as a thank you. My friend came home while she was still cooking, and she served him a plate like they were a couple. She had even lit candles on our table. I blew out the damn candles, went to my room, and called Tristan. I told him everything I had just seen, including the screenshots of the messages Tristan had shown me earlier. He only replied that maybe Tristan was lying and was just jealous that my sister was close to her ex again. That was the moment I decided I was done with all of them. Then I walked out and told my sister to leave. My friend protested a little, but I told him to shut up. I was sick of both of them. That Friday, my sister made her move. She told my friend she was afraid Tristan was following her and might hurt her. Probably my friend had told her everything I had already said earlier. Look, I know Tristan isn't a good guy, but I had the damn messages, and I could absolutely believe my sister would pull something like this. I mean, she already had. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my friend and I have barely spoken. Yesterday, I made a decision. I contacted an apartment complex on the other side of the city and put down a deposit for a studio. I'll be moving out at the end of the month once I can get myself removed from the lease. At this point, I'd rather pay whatever penalties than stay. My friend deserves better than this, but I can't save him from my sister if he doesn't want to be saved. I can't live in a home where my sister is slowly destroying my best friend again, and I can't sit there watching him choose her over the evidence of her manipulation. I know the second my foot leaves that apartment, my sister will be the first to move in. It's tragic, but it's no longer my problem. I haven't told my friend about my plan to move yet, but once I'm off the lease, I will. Update 3. I moved into my studio 6 weeks ago, and here's my update on the situation. Sorry I've been distant, but I was busy moving and leaving behind both a friend and my sister. When I finally told my friend I was moving, it went better than I expected. He didn't try to convince me otherwise, he just nodded and said he understood why I couldn't stay. That response told me everything I needed to know about how deep my sister had gotten into his head. I spent my last week in the apartment packing. On moving day, my friend helped me load my stuff into the rental truck. During the first month after I left, my friend would text me occasionally with work updates or random things, but he never mentioned my sister. I assumed that meant things were going well enough between them, at least well enough that he didn't want to risk hearing my criticism. Then a few weeks ago, my friend called me at 11 p.m. on a Saturday. My sister was gone. He said he had come home from his shift at the animal shelter and found the apartment empty. My sister had taken his portable TV, his video game console, and about $600 in cash he had set aside in a drawer for rent. She had also maxed out one of his credit cards. Apparently, she'd been watching him enter his PIN and memorized it. She had been using the card for weeks to order things online and have them delivered while he was at work. My friend found a note on the counter. My sister wrote that she was sorry, but Tristan had contacted her and convinced her to give their relationship another chance. She said Tristan had promised to really change this time and she couldn't pass up the opportunity to be with the person she truly loved. The note also said she hoped my friend would understand and that she'd pay back the money she took as soon as she got settled with Tristan. He told me he felt like a fool for trusting my sister again and that he should have listened to me from the start. I didn't say, "I told you so." I just replied, "That's what you called me for." Then hung up. But the story got worse. 2 days after my sister cleared out my friend's apartment, Tristan called me again. He said my sister had never contacted him about getting back together. In fact, Tristan had started dating someone new and had been ignoring my sister's calls for weeks. Tristan said my sister had been calling him regularly, leaving messages about wanting him back, but he told me he was done with her drama and had blocked her number after she began threatening to tell lies to his new girlfriend about his past. So that note my sister left about going back to Tristan? Just another lie. Tristan also clarified what she meant by the lies. In that note, she was talking about him hitting her. My friend texted me afterwards saying he felt like an idiot for believing my sister's apologies and thinking she had really changed. He said seeing her beaten and desperate had made him forget how cruel she could be. He admitted he convinced himself that her trauma with Tristan might have taught her to finally value good relationships. He also admitted that he had been feeling lonely after Erica dumped him, and that my sister's attention made him feel wanted again, even though he knew it was unhealthy. The only good thing in those messages was that he finally opened his eyes. He reported the theft to the police. They took a report but weren't optimistic about recovering the money or stolen items. My friend had to borrow money from his parents to cover rent and replace what was taken. His credit card company is still investigating the fraudulent charges. But that process could take months. Last week, my grandmother called me to say my sister had contacted her, asking for money for a deposit on a new apartment. My grandmother wanted to know if my friend and I had thrown her out and left her homeless. I brought my grandmother up to speed on everything that had happened lately. She said she would tell my sister she couldn't send any more money and that she needed to sort out her life without leaning on family who were struggling themselves. I don't know where my sister is now or what she's doing to survive. Part of me wonders if she found another kind person to exploit, or if she's finally had to face consequences for her choices. My friend, the one I call that because I don't want to name him, is starting to do something, late but at least it's something. He's been working extra hours to pay his parents back and start saving again. Not enough to repair our relationship, but at least he's doing something. In the end, my sister destroyed multiple relationships, hers with our grandparents, with me, and even between my friend and me. Because let's be honest, it's hard to trust him again if he lets himself be manipulated that easily. He was an idiot for letting her back into his life, and he ended up seeing the consequences. In part, I'm glad she robbed him, because he needed that to finally end things with her once and for all. But I'm also grateful he reported her. I haven't blocked him or anything, because he still keeps me updated, but as far as being friends again or even sharing an apartment, that's off the table. I promise I'll bring another update if I hear anything about my sister, her whereabouts and all that, but don't hold your breath. It's not like I'm going to hire a private investigator for her. Update 4. I can already say this one's going to cover a lot of different things. I've been busy, very busy. Like when you start dating someone new and your time is filled, you know what I mean. No, I haven't been seeing Erica, my ex-friend's ex. And well, she's actually the one person I don't have an update on. Tristan's last girlfriend, or maybe the one after her, I'm not exactly tracking this guy's life, reported him after he beat her. Not only that, apparently this woman had a very jealous ex, and when he found out about the assault and thought he could win her back, he beat Tristan up. She didn't get back together with that ex, I think, but beyond a few busted ribs, Tristan came out fine, in quotes. Fine enough not to face serious legal consequences from that incident. But Tristan didn't get off so easy overall. This wasn't his first offense against a woman. On top of my sister's complaint, apparently there was another I hadn't heard about. He was sentenced to 12 months in prison, and that other woman also received financial compensation. That's all I know, I don't even know her. The little I managed to learn, and believe me I tried, was through third parties. But I can confirm Tristan's conviction. His mugshot was even in the newspaper. Some people thought I was on his side or something, but nothing could be further from the truth. It was never my job to send him to jail, it was my sister's, with the complaints she always avoided filing. I still can't believe she finally did one, maybe just to spite him in the moment, or so people would pity her. Now, my friend, though we're not friends anymore, had to leave the apartment we once shared. It was too expensive for him alone. Last I heard, he wasn't seeing anyone and had moved to another part of the city. But we stopped talking, and that was that. Our friend group isn't in much contact with him either. They think he was an idiot for falling for my sister again. My opinion? Better I keep it to myself. I like my account here, even if it's temporary. I've grown attached to this username and I'd hate to lose it. The way I learned some of these things about my sister was because she asked me for money for a lawyer. I told her to give me her side of the story with no lies or there would be no money. There never was money, but I wanted her version because I knew people would ask me. She admitted she stole nearly $2,500 worth of items, plus the cash and the credit card charges. The problem is, the amount made it a felony, not just petty theft. So she needed money for a lawyer. She had a public defender, but he had already told her she could be looking at between 6 months and 3 years if she lost. She wanted me to pay for a private lawyer. When she finished telling me all that, she asked, "So will you help me, brother?" My answer was the ringtone. One of my sister's friends told me recently that she got 18 months and had to pay my friend back. Guess who's going to bake her a cake with a file inside? Seriously, because I have no idea.